Hi, my name is Emily Crona, and today I'll be talking about my Hodgkin lymphoma chemotherapy literature review. So, cancer is a mutation in the DNA that causes uncontrolled cell growth, and the cancer I researched was Hodgkin's lymphoma. And Hodgkin's lymphoma begins in the cell, and it makes its way into the lymph system as well as the lymph nodes. And the lymph system is connected to blood vessels, which travel throughout the whole body. And when these cells enter the lymph system or the blood vessels, it's very dangerous because this means that the cancer can start anywhere. And the lymph system is a major part of your immune system. So when you have this cancer, you have a higher chance of getting sick. And so in this literature review, I will be talking about the different stages of the cancer, as well as the different drugs needed and used, and then the different side effects and symptoms of using these drugs. So, to start off, Hodgkin's lymphoma has many different chemotherapy treatments, and one of the treatments that is most known is chemotherapy, which is what I decided to research. And so chemotherapy has many different stages in Hodgkin lymphoma. There's an early stage, a middle stage, and late stage. And as stated by the American Cancer Society, the later the stages, the stronger the drugs you need, as well as higher dosages of those drugs. And to start off, there's two categories of these chemotherapy drugs. There's ABVD drugs, as well as Stanford V drugs. And ABVD drugs are used in earlier stages of the chemotherapy, as well as in lower dosages rather than Stanford V drugs. And ABVD is an acronym for the drugs adriamycin, belamycin, vinblastine, and dacarbazine. And Stanford V drugs are way stronger than ABV drugs and are used in way higher dosages. But when Stanford V is used, it's most likely that ABV drugs are used as well. So they kind of work together. So Stanford V drugs include meclorethamine, vincristine, etoposide, and prednisone. And all these drugs are way stronger than ABV drugs, as I said before, and they all have their part in chemotherapy. And so, as stated by Dacarbazine Egyptian Journal, dacarbazine is one of the particular drugs that attacks the DNA, and it attacks cancer cells as well as healthy cells. And when the dacarbazine in particular affects guanine, and I don't know the whole background behind it, but I think it dissolves the guanine so that the DNA will be harder to replicate, which means no more cancerous DNA. And so then there are a lot of side effects to using all these drugs, and some of the side effects include hair loss, vomiting, and as well as depression. And hair loss is usually between 1 to 3 weeks of the first chemotherapy session that you had. And then there's also vomiting, and vomiting is caused by the introduction to chemotherapy, or your body's getting used to the drugs that are injected into you. And there's depression as well, and depression is a very touchy topic because some doctors believe that it comes from it's mental, and some people believe that it's directly from the cancer itself. So in summary, all these things that chemotherapy has affects the way affects different stages of the cancer, what types of drugs are needed and used, as well as the side effects and symptoms that comes from the drugs. And if I were to change anything, I would find more natural treatments so that it wouldn't harm the patient's body, as well as find natural medications to all the side effects if we can't find another chemotherapy treatment. So thank you for your time.